Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Domesticated Dude podcast. I'm Logan, your host on this journey. I'm joined again by my friend Reed, and it's weird that we have to do this over the computer because Reed was here for 2 days a couple weeks before Christmas. And instead of being responsible adults and recording a podcast face to face, we decided to drink a bottle of whiskey and listen to music because it was our time to catch up and we hadn't been able to do that together. In this episode, we talk a little bit about how Reed missed out on the GameStop bubble here lately. He missed it by about 2 weeks, and we talk about why it's important to not dwell on that too much. You know, even though he had this big pool of money that he could have had if he would have sold his stocks at that point. But you can't really think about that. It's the same thing with sports betting or anything else in life. You have to keep moving forward. And yeah, sure, you maybe made a mistake, but let that inform your decision making next time moving forward. And in the stock market's case, just grab onto the next stock that people are talking about and make some wise investments there. For us, playing in the stock market is just kind of like fantasy stocks like we've talked about on here. You know, it's like playing the stock market game when we were kids, just seeing what's going to happen. And a lot of it's just a bet on what we think could happen. And it's just a crapshoot at the end of the day. We also talk about our quick Super Bowl predictions in this episode. It's a quick one, but I feel like we covered a lot of good ground, a lot of good topics. If you like what you hear on the podcast, please share with a friend, leave us a review, and make sure to subscribe so you get the newest episodes immediately. Without further ado, here's my conversation with my friend Reed. Hope you enjoy. Reed, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I got my whiskey right here with a little bit of cinnamon in it. I'm ready to rock.
I got a Blue Moon. I'll tell you what, this thing was so cold. It was in the car, and shit, I almost didn't get my car started today. It was so cold in Alaska. So this is a nicely chilled beer.
That's a dangerous game, leaving a beer in a car in Alaska.
It wasn't a purposeful thing. It fell out at some point, and there'd be, and so I grabbed it. Snatch.
Good enough. Hopefully you have plenty because I feel like we have a lot to talk about. Well, hey, man, it's good to see you. We haven't talked a lot since you left here. Reed was here for about 2 days right before Christmas. And instead of, being responsible adults and sitting down together across from the table and recording a podcast episode, we ended up drinking a bottle of whiskey and staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning listening to music because that's how we do. So now we're making up for it. We're making up for lost time.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And yeah, that would have been a great podcast, although I'm sure we spoke on things that could never make the pages of the Domesticated Dude. But yeah, we did it hard.
I think it would have taken me longer to edit that than it would have for us to record it.
It would have been a long one.
By the time that thing was over, it would have been so fucking choppy, nobody would understand what the hell was going on. They would think we were just on drugs the whole time.
Which we weren't. Just lots and lots and lots of whiskey.
Just one bottle of really good whiskey. I'm kind of sad it's gone, actually.
It was a bourbon, right?
Yeah, Angel's Envy. That's what it was. Costco right. Special. Yeah,
that was good. I'm a little sad that it only took a bottle to put me and you into the state that we were in the next day.
Well, we're not the spring chickens that we used to be, my friend.
I know. We keep discussing this, and I know that to be the case. Just never sinks in. We're
very, very far out of practice.
Slow learner.
I think I actually poured too much whiskey for our session tonight, but that's a whoopsie, and it'll just make
We just have to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about your road trip. You had to drive this big-ass truck from Pennsylvania to Washington State. And when I say a big-ass truck, I am not over-exaggerating. This thing barely fit on the road. It's a pump truck or a crane truck. So it's double, triple your Suburban size. It's a pretty big fucking thing. Describe it a little bit. I'm doing a terrible job.
I think it was about 30 foot long, maybe 35 foot with a flatbed and a picking arm for my friend to use to pick up slabs of wood and cart that shit around. Anyways, yeah, it was a big fucking truck, and that was a long trek from Pennsylvania to Washington State, which was the end point. I learned a lot. I learned that everywhere fucking sucks in November. I could have just thought that was an Alaska thing, but no, it fucking sucks everywhere. Pennsylvania I got there right before a snowstorm and literally beat the storm out of Pennsylvania. When I got to Ohio, it was all snowed in from the same thing. It was a big fucking snowstorm. So that was a hell of a way to start that shit. And then driving from, again, Pennsylvania through Wyoming. Wyoming, what the fuck? I got to Wyoming and it was so windy that 7 different trucks were rolled over on the side of the road. What the fuck? Where am I? It was like a fucking Twilight Zone.
Well, there's nothing to break the wind on that interstate. It's just wide open.
And those trucks with the my guess is most of those trucks are probably really light or empty, and then their trailer acted as a sail and they got ripped over. But yeah, gusts were taking trucks off the road. I didn't have to worry about it because even though it was a big truck compared to those, it was pretty low to the ground, and it didn't have a big, fucking jet on the back to lift it. So I was just going right by them, but I couldn't go very fast. Anyways, I think I maxed out at like 70. So yeah, it was a long fucking trip.
Yeah, I bet. How many miles did you get in a day?
I don't know that I actually ever calculated that because I had to get off the road twice because of pretty crap weather, a little bit earlier than I would have liked to. So I don't know. It was like 12 to 14 hours a day anyways. I don't know how many miles. I guess probably 670, 800. No, 670, 700, somewhere in there.
That's a lot in a big ass truck.
It is.
I guess that's one of the beauties of being able to stay somewhere for multiple nights. You didn't have to get up and get back into that thing. We just kind of hung out and did our thing. And it was really good to have you here, man. It was cool to take you to some of the places around here that we didn't get to see when you were down here for the wedding.
Yeah, and I really hate to say this kind of thing, but Nebraska's actually not as bad as I said it was, especially your little square. I mean, that the college town is really cool, but I will say I don't know that I could live in Nebraska because I don't think that I could deal with the constant cow shit smell. I don't know why every fucking state smells like cow shit, but everywhere in the lower 48 it smells like piss or cow shit. I don't know what that is. I could do with that out.
The saying around here is when you smell the cow shit, it just smells like money. Because that's what it is. It's just money in the feedlot waiting to be banked. We got to hang out, do stuff. We went to a really good barbecue place here in town, Shea Bubba. Best barbecue around. If you live here close, you know what I'm talking about. But just like driving around was fun, but just like hanging out and having nowhere to go, it was like we were back in college. Except Sarah was there and she was not as thrilled about it as we were, I'm sure.
Yeah, she gave us the stink eye a couple times. And if you've never seen the show Big Mouth, you must watch Big Mouth. But if you have seen Big Mouth, I got Logan and Sarah to watch Big Mouth, and they were quite shocked. It was pretty fun.
It was pretty good. We haven't watched it since, so I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I believe that. But it kind of felt like it might be a hard sell the first time.
Yeah. One of the things that we were able to do was really kind of brainstorm on what our next stocks were going to be that we can use our amateur hour stock trading skills on. And for us, we were like, oh, well, at least you were telling me all about these esports stocks and how big it's going to grow. And I was like, yeah, man, of course. Like, yeah, esports is the next thing. Let's buy into it. So, of course, we kind of got our wheels turning, and I convinced Reed, well, you should just sell your GameStop shares, right after Christmas, because then that stock is just going to fucking tank, man. Nobody likes GameStop. And shame on Reed for listening to me. I can let him tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, so I think I looked up the history, and I was sitting on, at its peak, $20,000 worth of GameStop shares, but I sold it so I could buy into an esport thing that has only since gone down. So that was a hell of a trade-off. But I don't know. I mean, those kind of things are going to happen. Like, I bought in. It had gone up to $22 from $4. I had made some money, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'll put this into some other shit. It's not gonna do anything. It's after Christmas. Everybody who's bought a console has already bought it. They're not gonna go to these guys anymore. It's gonna go down." And then, sure as shit, I sell it a week later. Boop 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 boop. It didn't go from like 30 to 300, but boy, man, it sure felt like it did.
Yeah, man, that's a fucking heartbreaker, and I feel somewhat responsible for that because I was telling you about the esports stocks that we should buy into. I have since sold my esports stocks and bought some into BlackBerry, and I know it's not going to be what GameStop was, but
No.
I think there's some legitimacy there, not just for the 15 minutes of fame that Reddit's going to give it, but for the actual legitimacy of the business. But that's
for anybody who doesn't know, BlackBerry is designing electronic vehicle securities, and it's a thing that if you've been paying attention to the electronic vehicle market, a lot of people complain about is how insecure those things really are. They're easy to steal. They're easy to erase verification and stuff like that. So anyways, they're hackable and they want security. Well, BlackBerry is designing that security. So on top of the fact that it's being memed right now, and there's a lot of people paying attention to it, it actually has viable stuff. And yeah, we made some moves on that. We'll see where that goes. Nowhere so far, but such is life.
Yeah,
bought a bunch of Dogecoin because fuck it, memes.
I'm still trying to get into that. I'm trying to get into that one app and it won't verify my address. And I'm not getting into Robinhood because fuck them.
Yeah, no, I've looked it up, and like Robinhood is one of the only places that you can easily trade Dogecoin without having like a website specific eCoin trading, cryptocurrency trading site. Like it's not easy to do it. So I think Robinhood's one of the only ones, which is a real bummer that they like very clearly were manipulated the market and tried to fuck their customer base.
Yeah. Well, they weren't the only ones, that's for sure.
No, they surely aren't.
But I've been trying to get on this Binance app, and that's one that you can buy and sell crypto in. But I signed up for that, I think on Saturday, or I think it was Saturday, either that or Friday night. But they have you upload your driver's license and all this like security stuff, and then they want you to verify your address. Well, that's the thing that's been taking the longest, and I would think that one would be the one that would be the quickest. So
yeah, you'd think you could just easily look that up.
Anyway, I guess the moral of the story here is we have to move on. We can't lament too much in our GameStop woes because that's not going to get us anywhere. And I feel like a lot of times that happens, not just with the stock market, but other things. Like we miss out on an opportunity. We're like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have done that. But then you just get eaten up inside by that regret, and that shit's no good. Like you just got to keep moving on.
I read that that's actually a real thing in sports betting, stocks, and something else. Sorry, that's a really cool stat I just rolled out for us. Don't even remember my own stats. Anyways, there's a thing called FOMO, fear of missing out. And like people, like you say, will lament that. Remember the movie Avatar? I like that movie, but apparently there was people who were getting suicidal over it because they were like, they wanted to be the Na'vi. They wanted to go do that stuff, and they felt like they should be able to. And sorry, it doesn't exist, but fear of missing out. That's some weird shit. But yeah, I mean, if you just think about the woulda, couldas, especially when you make the bet. I mean, I made the bet that GME wasn't going to go up anymore. So, I mean, sucks that I guessed that wrong. I guess that sort of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. I made that fucking bet.
I mean, how are you to know that 2 weeks later, this Reddit army was going to band together and
pump it 200%?
Yeah.
No, you couldn't. So that's why I don't feel that bad about it.
That's good. I'm happy to see you smiling about it because when you told me how much money you had on it, I felt kind of sick to my stomach.
Oh, dude, it was rough. But fuck it. So this is a departure from the stocks, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that I can root against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Like I've got too much backing for Tom to ever do that. But I am afraid that there's a real possibility that it's going to be a blowout for the Chiefs. It's either going to be a blowout at the Chiefs or Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to do what we think they're going to do. But I don't know. It's really hard for me to say.
Man, it's going to be tough. I don't know because the Chiefs don't have a great defense. It's serviceable, but it's not great. However, the Bucks have a pretty damn good defense.
Yes.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how Mahomes and company can kind of maneuver that. But Andy Reid has proven time and time again, when he gets a bye week, he wins. I think the stat is like 95% of the games. Now you give him 2 weeks instead of 1 week, they're just going to tear them apart. Now, I'm saying that is kind of with my bias intact because I'm a huge Chiefs fan, but I gotta go with Andy Reid and the Chiefs here. Mahomes is just so talented, man. It's incredible to watch him play.
Well, and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I mean, those are two dangerous dudes. You have to double up on Tyreek, which means you have lax coverage on Kelce. And so he can go off, and he does go off. And then as soon as you start going towards him, boom, Hill comes through. It's massively dangerous. But you're out of your fucking mind if I think that kid's going to go back-to-back and unseat. Well, he won't unseat shit. Not the GOAT. He will not unseat the GOAT. But if he goes back-to-back, and goes back-to-back for the first time since, the other guy did it, that'd be pretty fucking badass.
It would be legendary.
I would be happy about it. I hope Gronkowski can please look like he's not injured. Doesn't he look like the fucking wildebeest at the back of the pack that's like dragging its leg, and everybody else is like, hey, man, you need to hurry the fuck up.
Well, that's what happens when you,
out there.
That's what happens when you don't play football for a year. I mean,
fuck, there's killers out there.
There's something to be said about that. Plus, he looks like he's lost 25% of his body mass. So there's that part of it too.
He did lose a lot of weight. I don't remember how much it was, but it was a significant portion.
Which is good because that'll make you more fleet of foot, but it's also bad because you can't just get people off your body anymore.
Well, and his knee is so fucked up, I don't know how fleet of foot he's going to be anyways. Probably would have been better to go the other way with it and just try to be a tank.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that I'm not betting on any sort of football games, considering my history with the stock market. I'm not even going to touch sports betting. Like, there's no way I'm getting into that.
I would honestly really love to sports bet, but I could never not be salty because the whole thing about professional athletes is they're really good. Just because they don't look that great compared to the very best guys in their respective field doesn't mean that they're not professional fucking athletes. And people fucking forget how hard that shit is.
Right.
I couldn't do it. Fuck no.
They expect these athletes to be automatic every single time they walk out on the field. They're just people. They're humans. Sometimes they have bad games, and sometimes those bad games are going to cost you $10,000. Sorry.
Yeah, I get way too salty. You know, like I said, a guy has a good night in hockey. Fucking actually, here's a goddamn story. So the Red Wings get scored on by a kid who was a rookie that never scored in the NHL before. He got one, and he said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going all in. And got a hat trick against my fucking team. He beat my team. Very first goal. He never scored. And fuck it. He went for all three. Why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Oh my God.
Did it make you feel worse when you realized that it was the Blackhawks who did that to you?
It was painful the whole way. There was never a point in that situation that I was happy. And I watched the whole thing and it was like, ugh.
Well, you should have watched the whole thing. You should have just turned it off.
I should have. That's why I can't sports bet. I get too invested, start punching holes in walls.
So, hey, I know we kind of stopped talking about the road trip, but I have a few more questions to ask you about that if you're up for it.
Sure.
You're by yourself in this truck for 12 to 14 hours a day. Mm-hmm. What goes through your mind during that time? I know you're probably listening to music, but like, what are some things that like, what are you thinking about, and what can you share with us about how you kind of kept your mind busy during that time?
So you have to have a mix of something really interesting to listen to and something that isn't so excruciatingly detailed that you have to give your attention to it. So, you know, a podcast that like ours or, some comedy one that you don't really have to fully invest with. The guys are just doing like fart jokes. Like that kind of shit is pretty helpful. Or music. If you got a really good playlists to listen to. Like I listen to a couple of those playlists that you gave me on Spotify over and over and over again before I went back to podcasts. As long as you have something like that, you're pretty good. But man, if you drown that out, man, you can really get in your head when you're just by yourself driving past stuff that you'll probably never see again and have no intent to ever see again. Like I don't ever want to drive back into fucking Omaha. That sucked. Go across the bridge and then into I don't ever need that in my life again. That was stupid. Yeah, so you can get in your head and I don't know, a lot of problem solving. Like I've solved the world's hunger issues like several times. Like just the right people need to ask me about it. I got this.
Is that how you're gonna make your millions?
I don't know. Yeah, nothing to make me millions. Otherwise, I'd be doing that right now. But yeah, you can definitely get deep with yourself. So I like to listen to a lot of hip hop. If I get pissy because people are driving like assholes in front of me, then I'll put on some metal and just get up behind people and be like, "Oh, I hate you." It's all depending on my mood. I also listen to and really the only time I listen to this really EDM. I really like house and trance music when I'm driving, because you could if you just need to zone out because you've been driving for a long time, but you need to keep your shit on the road. That'll work. Nice little beat, and you can just keep driving.
I mean, they call it trance for a reason, right?
That's right. I've been put into the trance.
You've been put into the trance. The trance. So, all right. So we talked a little bit about your road trip. We talked about the driving aspect. I know with COVID and everything, you probably didn't have a whole lot of human interaction, but was there any sort of thing like that kind of surprised you that you weren't expecting during this trip? I mean, I don't know if you've ever driven that far before or driven into these states before, but what surprised you on your trip?
Oh, so actually the very first thing I ever did with my CDL, I had just gotten my CDL. I think like 2 weeks later, I flew to Ohio and drove a dump truck up to Anchorage. So I have done a longer over the road trip, but it was long.
Very insightful there.
Yeah, well, sorry. I mean, I was just thinking about it. No, not really.
Okay. So you weren't surprised by the landscapes or the beautiful rolling hills of Nebraska or anything like that you want to expound upon?
No. Look, I like Nebraska. Like I said, everywhere I went smelled like cow shit, so I had to have the windows up the whole time. It was really cool. I liked the bit of Oregon I went through, which I didn't even know I was going to go through Oregon to get to Washington from Nebraska. So that was a surprise I was not ready for. It was cool. I liked a lot of what I saw. As far as like the COVID traveling, that actually was a really weird aspect, because much like I had assumed, going to big truck stops and stuff, a lot of people would be hesitant to follow the rules and stuff like that. So it didn't really surprise me that I didn't see a lot of masks in places and stuff like that. But then there was other times I was surprised. I was like, huh, no kidding. In restaurants, especially, like, you can only eat so many like Egg McMuffins. So like occasionally I would go sit down somewhere, and people would all have their masks on, and I was like, all right, cool.
That's cool.
That it was strange traveling right now though, because like every time I went to a new place, I was like, man, I wonder if somebody asked me about this, like if they'd want me to get tested, as I've been driving through all these different states, going to different gas stations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to have to think about. I don't usually have to think about that kind of thing.
Well, you have to take, at least traveling to certain states now, you have to take tests before you hop on the plane. Like my folks are in Hawaii right now. They had to take a COVID test 3 days before they got on the plane. But if you're driving intercontinental like that, I'm sure there's no way for them to track you or anything. So what's the point?
Oh, Logan, your cell phone's your tracker.
I know.
Everybody who needs to know knows where you are.
But they're not going to say, "Oh, Reed Rader's driving all the way across the country. Let's go pull him over and shove a COVID test up his nose." I mean, yeah, I guess there's still room for that to happen, but I don't know. But you had to take a test when you flew back, right? when you flew back to Alaska?
Yeah. And it was a pain in my ass. I know they were trying, and it was early in the morning, but it was a pain in my ass. But yes, you have to take one to get back in. And it actually wasn't a really long turnaround. But I mean, by the time I known, like, I was already at my house with my family, and it is what it is.
And you were negative, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank God. I didn't hear from you, so I just kind of assumed.
No. I haven't had the touch of the vid just yet.
That's good.
But a lot of people I know have had it.
I know. It's kind of crazy. There's been a few bouts here. Sarah and I have been blessed. We haven't had any run-ins with it. But we wear masks everywhere we go. We keep it safe. We don't dine out or anything. I mean, we go to Target sometimes, but that's about it. That's like the highlight of our week is going to fucking Target, spending all the money we can. I know we haven't been chatting that long, but I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered the 4 top things that we wanted to talk about today. Is there anything else top of your mind that we should talk about before we get going here?
Just wherever you are right now, feel blessed that you're not in Anchorage, Alaska, because it's going to get down to -9 tonight. And that's dumb. It's so dumb. Mind you, I work in a place that's notoriously -50, but -10 when you're not necessarily expecting -10 is fucking rude. So just wherever you are out there, feel better for yourself for that.
I have a feeling we have a few people who are in Anchorage who will be feeling your pain.
Yeah, well, they'll be commiserating. So here's to you guys.
Fair enough, man. Well, hey, thanks for spending some time with me tonight, and I know we'll talk soon.
All right. Sounds good, brother.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.